Have you ever been shocked by a strange airline rule? Well, you're not alone. There are rules out there that most people have no idea about, rules so bizarre, you'd think they were made up. Did you know that in some countries, you could be banned from boarding a flight just for wearing the wrong color of clothes? Or that there's a strict ban on certain foods that many passengers still try to sneak on board? Here's a jaw-dropping fact. More than 50% of passengers don't realize they're breaking at least one in-flight rule when they board a plane. From seat reclining to bathroom breaks, what you think is normal may actually be against the rules. In this video, we're going to uncover the strange and surprising rules that airlines have hidden in their fine print. Buckle up, because you won't believe some of the things you'll hear. Stay tuned to find out why certain types of shoes might get you kicked off the plane, how your feet could get you into trouble, and the bizarre restrictions around things you'd never expect, like your carry-on bag. Get ready for a ride through the quirkiest airline rules that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about flying. Chapter 1. The Dress Code Dilemma. Airlines have some of the strangest rules about what you can and can't wear when flying. Some might surprise you. For example, did you know that there are airlines that won't let you board if you're wearing ripped jeans? Yes, even though they are a fashion staple, some flights prohibit it. Imagine being told your jeans are too casual for the skies. This rule is often about looking professional or creating a more uniform atmosphere on the plane. But not all airlines are strict. Low-cost carriers tend to be a lot more relaxed about your attire, while first-class passengers might find themselves under more scrutiny. Some airlines have even banned certain colors because they might clash with the aircraft's interior design. For instance, Emirates advises against wearing anything too bright, like neon colors. This is because it could distract other passengers. This may sound bizarre, but they believe it helps maintain an aesthetic balance. And here's another one. Airlines in Japan have a very strict, no slippers, policy. While casual footwear is usually acceptable in airports, passengers boarding planes are expected to wear shoes that are more formal. It's all about respecting the cultural customs and the airline's standards of professionalism. Then there's the case of dress codes around religious attire. Several airlines, especially in the Middle East, provide special accommodations for those traveling with traditional or religious clothing. They understand that these garments, like a hijab or a turban, are important and offer flexibility. But it's not just clothing restrictions you should know about. Some airlines ban certain logos or brands on clothing, especially those deemed too controversial or political. Wearing something with a political statement, for example, might make you a target for attention and even get you banned from boarding. To make matters even more confusing, some passengers have reported being kicked off flights for wearing flip-flops or shorts. Airlines like Delta and United have even been known to suggest passengers change before flying, citing that the smart casual dress code should be followed at all times. Chapter 2. Foot Fetish in the Skies. Let's talk about your feet. Yes, your feet. Did you know that some airlines have specific rules about where your feet can and can't go? It's not just about whether or not you're wearing shoes, it's about how and when you use them. One of the strangest rules? Airplanes don't appreciate passengers walking barefoot down the aisle. But it's not just about hygiene, it's also about safety. When you're walking barefoot, there's a higher chance of slipping or tripping in the narrow aisles. Safety officials also argue that barefoot passengers may not be able to react quickly in an emergency. This one might surprise you. Some airlines actually prohibit feet from touching the back of the seat in front of you. On long-haul flights, it's tempting to stretch your legs out, but this rule exists for both hygiene and comfort. Airlines like Ryanair and British Airways have had complaints about this. They say it's not only uncomfortable for the person sitting in front of you, but also a matter of cabin space and passenger privacy. And here's a quirky rule from Singapore Airlines. Passengers are asked to refrain from putting their feet on the armrests. This is especially true if they are in business class, where cabin space is a premium. With the foot space so limited, airlines enforce this rule to maintain a better passenger experience. So, if you're ever tempted to take off your shoes and relax in an unusual position, remember you might get a gentle reminder from the flight crew. But the oddest rule? Some airlines restrict the number of passengers who can go barefoot in a single flight. Delta Airlines, for instance, enforces this to ensure hygiene standards. They don't want too many passengers walking barefoot, as it could lead to issues with cleanliness. There are also those who love traveling with slippers or flip-flops. While it might seem harmless, not all airlines are on board with that. In fact, some airlines will even turn away passengers for inappropriate footwear, citing safety issues during an emergency evacuation. Chapter 3. Turbulence Triggers. Weird baggage rules. When it comes to baggage, the weirdest restrictions are often found in carry-on policies. Some airlines go to great lengths to keep their cabins organized, and that means strict limits on what you can bring on board. One of the most interesting rules? Airlines like Air Canada ban large bottles of hand sanitizer, even though they've become essential for travel. The reason? The bottles are often larger than the maximum allowed size for liquids. Airline security doesn't just monitor dangerous items, they're also concerned about the weight of your carry-ons. Surprisingly, some airlines even set a weight limit for your bag in the cabin. For instance, Emirates limits each carry-on bag to 15 pounds. If you're caught with a heavier bag, expect to pay a hefty fine. And it's not just about weight, size matters too. If your carry-on bag doesn't fit into the overhead bin or under your seat, you might be asked to check it in. But what's wild is that some bags that fit perfectly into the size-checking frame at the gate are still flagged as too big once you get on board. It's one of the most frustrating and bizarre experiences for passengers. Another strange rule involves food items. For example, certain airlines forbid passengers from bringing certain types of fruits and meats onto the plane. This includes anything with a strong odor, like durian fruit. While durian may be a delicacy in parts of Asia, its notorious smell is so strong that it has been banned on several airlines, including Singapore Airlines. And then there's the odd but true rule that some airlines don't allow you to bring on certain electronic devices. On planes like Qatar Airways, laptops are strictly forbidden from being used during takeoff and landing. They are only allowed to be used once the seatbelt sign goes off. Perhaps the strangest baggage restriction? Some airlines ban bringing certain types of toys onto the flight. Sounds odd, right? But some security protocols suggest that items like toy guns or swords might be misconstrued as real weapons, creating unnecessary concern among crew members. As crazy as it seems, these rules are meant to help streamline the boarding process and ensure safety. But when you're navigating through an airport and trying to comply with every little rule, it can feel more like a game of Tetris than a smooth journey. If you're enjoying these strange airline rules, make sure to hit that subscribe button to see more unbelievable travel facts and tips. Chapter 4. The in-flight etiquette you never knew. When you step onto a plane, you probably think you know how to behave. But some airlines have in-flight etiquette rules that are far from what you'd expect. Let's start with the basics, talking loudly. Did you know that many airlines, like Lufthansa and Air New Zealand, have strict rules about noise levels in the cabin? They ask passengers to keep conversations at a reasonable volume. The reason? It's to respect other passengers who may want to sleep or relax. But it's not just about volume, it's also about when and where to talk. Some airlines ask passengers to avoid using their phones during certain hours of the flight, particularly during meal service or when the cabin lights are dimmed for rest. This might seem strange, but it's all about creating a peaceful environment for everyone on board. Then there's the seat reclining dilemma. While many of us instinctively recline our seats, not every passenger appreciates it. Airlines like American Airlines and Delta have introduced reclining etiquette in their guidelines, reminding passengers to be aware of others when reclining. In some cases, airlines even ask passengers to keep their seats upright during certain times, like during takeoff, landing, or meal service. And it's not just passengers that have to follow in-flight etiquette. Flight attendants also have their own set of rules. They're expected to be courteous, professional, and patient, but some airlines, like Emirates, have gone a step further. Their flight attendants are trained to not only provide service but to also manage passenger behavior. If someone is being disruptive, attendants are given strategies for de-escalating the situation without creating conflict. Let's not forget about the no touching rule. While it might seem like common sense, some airlines, like Qatar Airways, have a clear policy against passengers touching their seatmates. This includes anything from leaning into someone's space to unnecessary physical contact. This policy ensures a comfortable, respectful flight for everyone. And here's a fun fact. Some airlines offer training on in-flight mindfulness for passengers. Airlines such as Singapore Airlines encourage passengers to stay calm and collected during long-haul flights by offering relaxation tips and guides to managing anxiety. The goal is to keep the peace and ensure everyone arrives at their destination feeling rested. If you found these etiquette rules surprising, don't forget to subscribe for more insider travel tips and hidden airline secrets. Chapter 5. The mystery of the airplane toilet, airplane bathrooms, a mystery to many. You might think they're just tiny rooms where you take care of business, but the truth is, some airlines have very particular rules when it comes to their use. For example, did you know that many airlines, like British Airways, have an unwritten rule about when you can and can't use the bathroom? You're generally asked not to use the lavatory during takeoff and landing. That's because, in the event of an emergency, you'll need to be strapped in securely, which means no bathroom breaks. But there's more. Some airlines have very strict guidelines about how long you can stay in the bathroom. If you're taking longer than usual, flight attendants might knock on the door, asking if you need help. This rule exists because aircraft bathrooms are often cramped, and delays can disrupt the smooth flow of service. Speaking of cramped, did you know that the average airplane bathroom is just 3 feet by 3 feet? That's less than 9 square feet of space. This creates major issues when it comes to accessibility. Airlines like Air France and JetBlue have started installing more accessible bathrooms on their planes to accommodate passengers with disabilities. But they're still a rarity. Here's another strange fact. Some airlines have a policy on the toilet paper. On certain flights, like those with Qatar Airways, the bathroom might have a special, sanitized, seal on the toilet paper roll, ensuring it's clean and untouched. It's a small but thoughtful detail aimed at maintaining hygiene and comfort. And have you ever wondered why airplane bathrooms are so cold? It's not a coincidence. Airlines intentionally keep the temperature lower in lavatories because it helps with ventilation. Since the air in an airplane is recirculated, keeping it cooler helps reduce the potential spread of germs. Not all bathroom rules are about safety or hygiene, some are about convenience. For instance, airlines like AirAsia have introduced self-cleaning toilets. These toilets automatically sanitize after each use, which not only saves time but also ensures a higher standard of cleanliness during flights. Chapter 6. Can you really sleep on the job? When it comes to flight crews, their sleep schedule is way more complicated than you'd think. Many people assume pilots and flight attendants can sleep anytime, but it's not that simple. In fact, there are strict regulations that govern how much rest crew members can get during long-haul flights. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, pilots are required to take specific rest breaks on flights lasting longer than 8 hours. These rules are designed to ensure they are well rested and able to handle the demands of flying safely. But it's not just pilots, flight attendants also have rules about how long they can work before needing rest. For example, after working a set number of hours, flight attendants are required to take breaks, especially during overnight flights. Airlines like United and Lufthansa are known for their well-managed rest schedules, which help prevent fatigue and ensure high service standards. One interesting fact. On ultra-long-haul flights, like those from Singapore Airlines, some pilots and crew actually sleep in designated rest areas. These areas are often located in the crew's quarters, which are separate from the passenger cabins. These rest zones are equipped with special sleeping pods designed to keep the crew members refreshed during long shifts. Enjoyed these fascinating airline secrets? Hit the subscribe button for more unbelievable travel stories and tips.